So since the COVID pandemic, there's been many children, spouses, partners, siblings, friends faced with end-of-life decisions for their loved ones. Now, of course, making these kinds of decisions has been going on since beginningless time in one form or another. But with over 30 million cases in the US, 550,000 deaths in the last year due to COVID, and end-of-life decisions are impacting many people. Yesterday, on March 28th, there were 500,419 new cases of COVID worldwide. There were 6,585 deaths worldwide yesterday. So needless to say, this pandemic is not yet contained. I thought to talk a bit about how to approach end-of-life care decisions regarding loved ones. First of all, if all of us would fill out advanced care directives, our loved ones would be spared a lot of pain and anxiety at our death time. Now, advanced care planning involves learning about types of decisions that might need to be made, considering those decisions ahead of time, and then letting others know about your preferences. These preferences are often put into an advance directive. It's a legal document that goes into effect only if you are incapacitated and unable to speak for yourself. It is so helpful for others to know what type of medical care that you want. An advance directive also allows you to express your values and desires related to end-of-life care. Now, of course, we don't know when we will die, but we all know that we will at some point. So being prepared for the transition has a calming effect on our minds. I can remember when my mother was ill, she had cancer, and when I went to visit her, I took it was called 5 Wishes, which is one kind of advance directive. And we went through it together, and I will say that that was one of the most meaningful, close, wonderful experiences I have ever had with my mother. I treasure that discussion. And, you know, I didn't know how she was going to react to it. I thought I'm not going to do it. But, you know, we started out and she, you know, got into it and, you know, said what she wanted. And then, you know, at the funeral, it was so wonderful to see everything that she had talked about come to pass, you know, what she wanted. So it was quite wonderful. So advance directives are a living document. It's something that can be adjusted as your situation changes over time due to health status or new information or treatment. So all of us here fill those out. And over the years, you know, as we age or we get other things, you know, different kinds of health issues, then we adjust it, or just thinking about it over time. This is not an easy thing to just jump into and have the clarity about it, because it brings up all kinds of things. So it's a process. It's a process. So if people have filled out an advance directive, then it is a legally binding document that drives the care of the person. So these directives include decisions about use of emergency treatments to keep you alive. So there are several artificial or mechanical ways to do this, and decisions that may come up at the time relate to cardiopulmonary resuscitation, ventilator use, artificial nutrition, hydration. And there's information on the web about what that all entails. And you know, I won't go into all of that. We could speak for 3 hours about this stuff. And then the other option, of course, that isn't often talked about is comfort care. So comfort care is anything that can be done to soothe you and relieve suffering while staying in line with your wishes. So comfort care includes managing shortness of breath, limiting medical testing, providing spiritual and emotional counseling, giving some medications for the symptoms experienced. Often our family members aren't so keen on talking about death or what they want in care, so the decisions are left to the family when the person can no longer communicate their decisions about care. So how can we approach this from a Buddhist perspective to help our family members or others who ask for some guidance? I think first of all, recognizing impermanence is so important. Working with attachment, so important. Grounding ourselves in our practice before we make healthcare decisions or counsel others will go a long way to help us make balanced decisions. Making health decisions with a motivation of love and compassion is never wrong. Oftentimes, we get caught up and I have to make the right decision. Oftentimes, there is no right decision. There's just a decision. So if it comes from love and compassion, it's okay. That's a good decision. So there are no right or wrong decisions as long as we discuss the situation with care team, family, trusted friends. In this age of technology, the simple process of death, that death once was, has been replaced with many options to extend life for some time. That's why this gets so confusing. If there's no advance directive, then family members can get together and decide what kind of treatment they think their loved one would want if they could communicate. So it's not an easy task, but if it's a group decision, then it is much easier. And if there aren't other family members, then reaching out to trusted friends, spiritual advisors to talk about what you are facing can be very helpful. Others cannot make the decisions for you, but you can be loving sounding boards. You can have these loving sounding boards so that you can get clear about what decisions to make. And then the other resource, of course, is the healthcare team. Tell them you want all the information. Be straightforward and honest. Tell them that. Sometimes I ask doctors, if this was your mother, would you recommend this kind of treatment? I've said that before. That stops them. They don't like that question, but I keep on it until they actually answer. Because if you make it personal, then their mind expands, and it's not just, do the algorithm, do this thing, because that's what we always do. So it gets them to think about the impact these decisions have on people. Asking many questions of the healthcare team can clarify the situation, like what is the chance of your loved one surviving the illness? What is the quality of life if certain treatments are instituted? That's a very important one. From a Buddhist perspective, when our loved ones are near the end of their life, the best circumstance for a precious human rebirth is to have a calm and loving environment free from anxiety and chaos. Karma dictates our lifespan. I have cared for so many patients in my career with very minor illnesses that have died. I have cared for patients with catastrophic illnesses that should be dead and that aren't and survive and recover. So, we do not have control over this process. It is really important to think about this kind of process is extremely complicated with many, many, many causes and conditions that we will never even know. Now, because of our attachment, we often get caught up in the latest technology that may prolong life. It's important that we think about who the people that are on the care team, how they view what they're doing. So, asking questions of doctors if, they're comfortable with doing comfort care, or if they're going to work to get this person to survive no matter what, and then everything in between. So to kind of know how they hold these things, because some they are going to do everything irregardless of how it affects the person. And so, you want to know that so that you can counter that kind of energy with a more balanced perspective, maybe. So when karma runs out, we die. But with technology, the body can be kept breathing and the heart beating. So again, that's the difficulty, to really know when somebody actually has died, but artificially we're keeping them alive. That's the hard part. And so we never make any of these kinds of decisions alone. This is a group process. This is a group process. And I think it's really helpful to keep in mind that whatever decisions we make, the end result is that the person will transition to the next life at some point. So we keep checking up to see what our motivation is and what's driving our actions. If it's fear and grief and loss, we have to look at that. We have to enlarge our view again. When I have made these decisions with loved ones, I made decisions with other family members in a way that I think about in 10 years from now. I want to remember that it was a group decision with the motivation of honoring the family member with love and compassion. So we hold these decisions lightly as a dependent arising. There are more causes and conditions for what is happening than we can ever know. So we rest in the motivation of love and compassion, and then when we do it that way, there are no regrets. And that's the best outcome for transitions of any kind, including death.